My wife became distant, completely absorbed in her career. I uncovered her affair when I found proof of her making future plans with another man. Within 48 hours, she lost everything, and the electrician she underestimated had the power shut off. Now she's pleading. What's up, Reddit? Never thought I'd be the type to share my relationship problems online. Yet here we are. I'm going to lay out everything that's happened over the past few months. Buckle up. I'm Alex, 34 male. I've been an electrician since I was 19. Started as an apprentice. Worked my way up to journeyman, then eventually became a master electrician. 5 years ago, I launched my own business. Nothing massive, just me and 2 guys wiring up houses and handling commercial jobs in town. I make a comfortable living. Not rich, but doing well. Jessica, 31, female, and I met 6 years ago at my buddy Dave's housewarming party. She was a friend of his girlfriend from college. Not gonna lie, the first thing I noticed was her hourglass figure, but what really got me was how she genuinely laughed at my dumb jokes. Not just a polite giggle. We clicked instantly. She worked at a marketing firm downtown, managing social media for local businesses. She was incredibly smart and always had something interesting to talk about. Not like those dates where you struggle to keep the conversation going. Our first date was at a dive bar known for its amazing wings. She showed up in jeans and a t-shirt. That was the moment I knew I was in trouble. After 3 years of dating and 3 years of marriage, I thought we had built a solid life together. I worked my tail off to get my electrical business running, sometimes putting in 14-hour days, crawling through attics in summer heat or wiring new constructions in freezing cold. But it was all worth it. We bought a modest 3-bedroom in a nice neighborhood. Nothing extravagant, but it was ours. Well, mostly mine, since I put down most of the down payment, but I didn't make a big deal out of it. At first, Jessica really seemed to appreciate my work. She'd have dinner ready when I came home exhausted, listening to me vent about contractors who nearly electrocuted themselves because they couldn't wait for me to cut the power. She used to brag to her friends about how her man could fix anything, and even wore my old work shirts to bed because they smelled like me. She never minded my rough hands, or that some nights I was so wiped out, I'd pass out on the couch before dinner. Weekends were simple but enjoyable. We worked on house project together. She got pretty decent with a paintbrush and even handled power tools pretty well. We had BBQs with friends, binge-watch shows, and tried new restaurants. Just regular couple stuff. Every year, we took a vacation, not extravagant, usually a beach within driving distance, but we always had fun. Looking back, I realized there were signs things weren't as perfect as I thought. When you're grinding every day to build something, you don't always see what's right in front of you. Honestly, I've never been great at picking up on emotional cues. My dad was old school, fix things, provide, protect. Talking about feelings wasn't part of the manual. The first couple years of marriage were good. We talked about having kids, but decided to wait until my business was more stable and she advanced in her career. We were building a decent savings. I was landing bigger contracts, and she got a promotion. Everything seemed to be on track. Her family liked me well enough. Her dad respected that I built something from the ground up with my own hands. Her mom, on the other hand, was a bit stuck-up, the typical suburban type who probably expected her daughter to end up with a doctor or a lawyer. But I won her over by fixing everything in their house. Whenever we visited, nothing earned me more goodwill with the in-laws and solving whatever plumbing issue had been driving them crazy for months. My family adored her. My mom was just relieved I found someone who could tolerate me. My dad thought she was a little too into social media and designer brands, but he mostly kept that opinion to himself. My younger brother thought she was attractive, but made sure to respect our relationship. We had a solid group of friends, a mix of my construction crew and her marketing colleagues. We had regular game nights, summer barbecues, and a fantasy football league that got way too intense. Life was normal. Life was good. If you had asked me back then, I would have said we were in a great place. Not flawless. We had the usual disagreements over small things, like dishes left in the sink or me tracking mud into the house. She got frustrated when I forgot events with her friends, and I got annoyed when she spent too much on clothes or makeup, but nothing serious. No glaring issues. At least none that I noticed. Looking back now, typing this out feels like watching the start of a horror movie, where everything seems fine, but you just know something terrible is about to happen. Except in my case, the monster wasn't hiding in the shadows. It was lying next to me every night, wrapped in Victoria's Secret. The first sign of change was probably about 8 months ago. That's when Jessica started bringing up this new guy at work, Mike. Mike, who had an MBA from some prestigious school. Mike, who had brilliant ideas for the company. Mike, who was on the fast track to success. I should have paid more attention when my wife couldn't go 5 minutes without mentioning another man's name. But I was focused on expanding my business, securing contracts, managing my crew. I didn't realize I should have been paying closer attention to what was happening right at home. But then it became, Mike this, Mike that. Mike thinks we should approach the Johnson account differently. Mike went to Cancun last year and said we should go. Mike says my ideas have real potential. Before long, I was hearing about Mike's breakfast choices and workout routine. Like I cared that he did CrossFit and ate avocado toast. Around this time, Jessica started coming home later from work. At first, it was team happy hours, supposedly mandatory for team building, once a week, then twice, then 3 times. She'd get home at 8 or 9 p.m., slightly tipsy, smelling like a mix of bar and perfume. When I'd ask about her day, she'd get this distant look, like her mind was somewhere else. She started making little remarks about how her college friends were achieving so much. One had just bought a vacation home in Colorado. Another got promoted to VP at a tech company, always with this subtle undertone, like our life wasn't quite enough. Mike says I have real management potential. He thinks I should be aiming higher, she'd say, scrolling through Instagram while I told her about a big contract I just landed for an office building downtown. Like my success didn't count, because I wasn't wearing a suit to work. Then came the changes in her appearance. She began dressing differently for work, wearing outfits I'd never seen before, using more makeup, trying a new hairstyle, and wearing expensive perfume that likely cost more than my work boots. She also started getting her nails done every week instead of saving it for special occasions. Next was the gym. My wife, who used to complain about walking the dog around the block, suddenly became dedicated to hitting the gym at 6 a.m. before work. Not just any gym, but an upscale one downtown with classes, smoothies, and personal trainers, costing $200 a month compared to the perfectly fine $30 gym just 5 minutes from our home. She began coming home later and later, always showering at the gym before heading back. By the time she arrived at 8 o'clock or 9 p.m., she was freshly showered with perfect makeup and styled hair. Because that's completely normal after an intense workout, right? I've never been the jealous type. I've never checked her phone or tracked her location because I always believed trust was either there or it wasn't. And if it wasn't, then the relationship was already over. But I'm also not naive. I started noticing she was always glued to her phone, angling the screen away when I got close. I caught her texting late at night with the brightness turned all the way down. She would step outside to take calls, claiming she needed better reception, even though we've never had signal issues in our house. One night, I woke up around 2 a.m. to use the bathroom, only to find that she wasn't in bed. I found her in the kitchen, intensely texting someone. The moment she saw me, she nearly dropped her phone and quickly said she couldn't sleep and was just checking work emails. At 2 a.m., then there was the money. We always had separate personal accounts along with a joint account for bills and savings. But I started noticing unusually large transfers from our joint account into hers. When I asked, she gave vague excuses, helping her sister or investing in a work project. Meanwhile, credit card statements showed charges at restaurants on nights she was supposedly working late or having a girls' night, expensive clothing stores despite saying she was just browsing, and hotel bar tabs during work hours. The breaking point was Valentine's Day. I'm not usually one for the holiday, but I planned something special. I made reservations at a steakhouse she had been wanting to try, sent flowers to her office, and even got her a silver bracelet she'd been hinting about. At noon, I texted her to confirm she'd be home in time for our 7 p.m. dinner. No response. By 5 p.m., my call went straight to voicemail. By 6:30 p.m., still nothing. I ended up sitting on the couch in my dress clothes, watching the flowers wilt on the table, the bracelet still in my pocket. She finally walked in at 11 p.m., clearly drunk, claiming a work crisis kept her late and that her phone had died. She didn't even notice the flowers or that I was dressed up. She just went straight to bed. The next morning, she acted as if nothing had happened. When I brought it up, she got defensive, saying I was overreacting and making her feel guilty for working late. That's when I knew something wasn't right. The Jessica I married would have felt bad about missing Valentine's Day. She would have apologized and tried to make it up to me. But this new Jessica, she seemed irritated that I even expected her time and attention. I'm a straightforward guy, and my first instinct was to confront her directly, ask if she was cheating and settle it right then. But something held me back. Maybe it was pride, maybe self-preservation. Instead, I chose to watch closely. I started paying attention, really paying attention, and tracking her patterns. Every Tuesday and Thursday, late meetings. Every other Saturday, girls' brunches that mysteriously stretched until dinner. She always came home with freshly styled hair, but never any shopping bags from these so-called trips. Curious, I checked our cell phone records online. Repeated calls and texts to the same number, always when she was supposedly working late or at the gym. A number that wasn't saved in our family phone plan contacts. One day, while she was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I checked her phone. It was locked with a new passcode. Since when did she need to keep her phone locked for me? We used to know each other's passcodes, not because we were snooping, but just for convenience. Then came the work events, company parties, client dinners, team outings, and suddenly I was no longer invited. It's just for employees, or it wouldn't be fun for you. The Jessica I married had always loved showing me off, proudly introducing me as her electrician husband. I'm not the most perceptive when it comes to relationships, but even I couldn't ignore the signs. My wife was creating a life that didn't include me. The real question was, what was I to do about it? Before I could decide, fate handed me solid proof. While fixing a leaky bathroom sink, I accidentally dropped my wrench, knocking over Jessica's makeup bag. As I picked up the scattered lipsticks and other items, I spotted a hotel key card tucked into a side pocket. It wasn't from any vacation we had taken. This one was from the Marriott downtown, just a short walk from her office. A strange keepsake, unless it had significance, right? I carefully placed it back where I found it and finished fixing the sink, pretending nothing had happened. But that key card gnawed at me. That night, once she was asleep, I took a deep dive into our finances. Jessica had always managed our bills and budgeting. Not because I wasn't capable, but because she was more particular about it. Logging into our joint accounts, I examined recent transactions. Large withdrawals to her personal account stood out, $500 here, $700 there. Money meant for our future, our savings, our life together. Her credit card statements showed purchases at high-end stores well beyond our usual spending habits. Dinner bills at upscale restaurants on nights. She claimed to be out with the girls. Places far fancier than their usual casual spots. Charges at expensive lingerie stores for items I had never seen her wear. Then I saw it. A charge from the Marriott downtown, dated 3 weeks ago. Not a room, just a bar tab. But still, she had never mentioned being at a hotel bar. When I checked our text from that day, she had told me she was stuck at work preparing for a big presentation. I reached out to my old friend Trent, an IT security expert. We'd known each other since high school. I wasn't proud of it, but I asked if he could help me access Jessica's email. I shared my suspicions. He hesitated at first, but having gone through a messy divorce after his own wife cheated, he understood exactly where I was coming from. He helped me install a simple keylogger on our home computer, a basic program designed to capture her passwords the next time she logged in. Was it shady? Without a doubt. Legal? Probably not. But at that moment, I didn't care. I had to find out what was really happening. 2 days later, I had her email password. And there it was, message after message with this guy, Mike. Weekend plans, complaints about me, how I was stuck in an underdog mindset while Mike was ambitious, how she felt like she was settling by staying with me, how she deserved a more luxurious life than I could give her. The same Mike who, I now realized, was her direct supervisor, the one who had just been promoted to regional director at her company. The same Mike who, according to his Facebook profile, was married with a 2-year-old and another baby on the way. There were hotel bookings, screenshots of apartment listings they were looking at together, messages mapping out their future once she left me, all while she lay next to me every night, ate the meals I cooked, and lived in the house my job paid for. One email from Mike read, "Just a few more months until my bonus comes through. Then we can both leave these dead-end situations and start fresh. Just be patient and keep things normal at home." It felt like a punch to the gut. 6 years together. For years of marriage. Had it all been a lie? Or had it just turned into one? That night, I sat in my truck for an hour, parked outside our house, just thinking. The rage, the betrayal, everything hit me at once. Part of me wanted to barge in, throw her stuff onto the lawn. Part of me wanted to track down Mike and introduce his face to the pavement. Part of me just wanted to get drunk and burn something down. But I didn't do any of that. That's not who I am. I've never been the kind of guy to lose control, no matter how much I wanted to. My dad always said, when you're angry, that's exactly when you need to think clearest. And for once, I had to admit, he was right. So instead, I started planning. If Jessica and Mike were working on their exit strategy, I needed to stay 2 steps ahead. There was no way I was going to be the fool left behind when they decided to make their move. First, I scheduled a consultation with a divorce lawyer, a guy I'll call Richard, who my friend had used when his wife cheated. Word was he was a real shark. I sent over all the emails I had found, the financial records, everything. He confirmed what I already suspected. I had more than enough evidence for an at-fault divorce on grounds of adultery. But Richard advised me to be smarter than just confronting her right away. If you tip her off now, she'll just go on the defensive and start hiding assets, he warned. It's better to be strategic. Gather more solid evidence, photos or videos, if possible. Keep track of any unusual spending or asset transfers. Secure your own finances before making any moves. And above all, act like nothing has changed. The element of surprise is your biggest advantage. Once you confront her, everything shifts. That's what my marriage had become, a game of chess where I had to anticipate her next move and counter it before she even made it. The next day at work, I couldn't concentrate. My head was spinning, thinking about Jessica and Mike planning their future while I was breaking my back to provide for us. I was so distracted that I nearly electrocuted myself. My apprentice, Tommy, actually had to step in and remind me to test the circuit. The kid saved me from getting a nasty shock. Pretty embarrassing. That night when Jessica came home late, as usual, I made sure to act normal. I asked about her day, listened to her fabricated story about a stressful client meeting, and even managed to kiss her goodnight without feeling sick. While she slept, I started making lists on my phone. The assets I needed to protect, the accounts that had to be separated, the people who should be informed, and those who shouldn't. A timeline for how everything would play out. The next morning, I sent her a text saying I might have to leave town for a big electrical job, a commercial building in Phoenix that required a complete rewiring. I'd probably be away for 2 weeks. I asked if she'd be okay handling things alone. Her response was so enthusiastic, it was almost laughable. "That's great, babe. Such a good opportunity for you. I'll be fine here. Don't worry about me." Oh, I bet you will be, I thought. I bet you will be. The trap was set. Now, I just needed to execute the rest of my plan. I made a big show of packing, loading up my truck with tools, and kissing her goodbye. On the way out, I even stopped by my parents' place, so they believe I was actually leaving. I told them not to mention anything to Jessica if she called. I said I wanted to surprise her with a gift using the money I'd make. Mom thought it was a sweet gesture. If only she knew. Once I was in the clear, I circled back to town and crashed at my buddy Tony's empty rental property, about 15 minutes from my house. He'd been through his own nightmare of a divorce, so he understood. I needed eyes on my house, so one of my friends, Kevin, who installed security systems, set me up with some discreet outdoor cameras I could monitor from my phone. We installed them while Jessica was at work, one watching the driveway, another on the front door. Nothing inside. I'm not that kind of creep, and honestly, I didn't want to see whatever might happen in my own bedroom. The first day was uneventful. Jessica came home, ordered takeout, watched Netflix, and sent me some miss you texts that I replied to with equally fake enthusiasm. The second day, around 7 p.m., a black Audi pulled up, outstepped Mr. Regional Director himself, tall, fit, expensive watch catching the streetlight. He even brought wine. They stayed until 3 a.m. I caught everything on video. The way they kissed at the door, definitely not their first time. How comfortable he looked walking into my house with an overnight bag like he lived there. It happened 3 more times that week. Once, they even left together in the morning. She called in sick while they spent the day who knows where. They had dinner on my deck, drank my expensive whiskey, the one I had been saving, and even took my boat out, the one I worked my ass off to buy. As I watched this unfold, I wasn't just sitting around feeling sorry for myself. I called my dad first, showed him everything. He was furious but stayed focused. "What's the plan, son?" he asked. "I need to protect what I built," I told him. The next few days were a whirlwind of preparation. With Richard, my lawyer, I secured my business since it was already an LLC in my name alone. I opened new bank accounts, transferred my work equipment to business, changed beneficiaries on everything, and store important documents and irreplaceable items elsewhere. Most importantly, I had legal papers drawn up, granted my dad temporary power of attorney over my business, and moved half our savings into my new account, leaving her exactly half. Everything was properly documented through my lawyer. By the 10th day, I had gathered everything I needed: videos, emails, financial records, and a solid legal plan. Just one final move before the confrontation. I anonymously sent all the evidence to Mike's pregnant wife. She had a right to know before making any life-changing decisions, just as I had once wished someone had done for me. With that last step taken, I was ready to head home early for my business trip and witness Jessica's reaction when she saw me. I drove back, anticipating a major showdown. I had a whole speech planned in my head, even hoping to catch Jessica and Mike in the act, maybe even collect some extra video proof. But life has a way of surprising you, doesn't it? As I pulled into the driveway, something immediately felt off. Her car was missing. Strange. Consider my security camera had shown it parked there just 3 hours earlier. I figured she might have gone grocery shopping or run some errands. Stepping inside, the house felt eerily empty. You know that unsettling feeling when a place that should feel like home suddenly doesn't? The atmosphere was different. Too quiet. I called her name. No response. I checked the kitchen, then the living room, before making my way to our bedroom. That's when reality hit me. Her side of the closet was completely empty. The dresser drawers, cleared out. The bathroom counter, missing all her expensive creams and makeup. On the bed, a neatly folded note rested on my pillow, as if this were some dramatic scene from a movie. "Alex, I can't do this anymore. I've moved on with someone who shares my ambitions and can give me the life I deserve. My lawyer will reach out regarding the divorce. Don't try to find me. Jessica, cold, right? 6 years together. For years of marriage. And that was it. Just 8 lines on a piece of paper. Not even a full page. I sat on the edge of the bed, holding the note, feeling nothing. No anger. No sorrow. Just an odd emptiness. Like I was staring at the ruins of something that had died long ago. I walked to the living room, opened my laptop, and pulled up the security footage from earlier that day. There was Jessica and Mike packing suitcases and boxes into his Audi around noon. She was laughing as he struggled with a heavy bag, both of them looking excited, like teenagers sneaking out after curfew. I spent the next few hours making lists, bank accounts, credit cards, passwords, utilities, all the things that needed handling when your wife suddenly disappears. I changed the locks, updated every password she might know, and called Richard, my divorce lawyer friend, to start the process. While going through our finances, I noticed something interesting. She had emptied her personal checking account, but hadn't touched our joint savings. Whether she had forgotten in her rush to start her new life or planned to come back for it later, I wasn't sure. Then it dawned on me, the safe in my home office. I opened it, and sure enough, all her essential documents were still there. Birth certificate, passport, social security card. Everything necessary to function as an adult in this country. In her hurry to leave, she had overlooked the basics. I picked up my phone to text her about it, but stopped. Richard's advice replayed in my mind. Don't engage. Not until we have everything in order. Let her be the one to make the first mistakes. Instead, I called my dad and explained the situation. He arrived quickly, and we sat on the deck talking while I transferred half of our savings into a new account under my name, leaving her share in the joint account. I wasn't going to steal from her, but I wasn't going to be a fool either. Dad stayed over that night, which turned out to be a good decision because around 3 a.m., my phone started going off nonstop. Message after message from Jessica. Just realized I left some important things. Can we arrange a time for me to pick them up? Alex, please respond. This is childish. They're my documents. I need my passport for a new job opportunity. I turned off my phone and went back to sleep, letting her deal with her own lack of preparation. The next day felt oddly normal. I went to work, wired a new construction site, and made small talk with my crew. No one had a clue that my life had just fallen apart, and I wasn't in the mood to bring it up. At lunch, I checked my phone, 27 missed calls. The voicemails ranged from sweet and pleading to threats of legal action. Even Mike had called twice, trying to sound official about personal property laws. I sent Jessica a single text. All communication goes through lawyers from now on. Then I blocked both their numbers and went back to eating my sandwich. 2 days after Jessica's grand exit, I was in the garage organizing my tools. What can I say? It helps me clear my head when I heard someone pounding on the front door. I checked my new security app, and there she was, looking a lot less put together than when she left. I laughed to myself and took my time answering. When I finally opened the door, she was standing on the porch, mascara smudged, hair a mess, still wearing what looked like yesterday's clothes. You changed the locks, she said, as if I was the one in the wrong. Yep, I didn't invite her in, just stood in the doorway. I need my things, Alex, my documents. I can't do anything without them. Maybe you should have thought about that before leaving while I was at work. Her expression shifted, some mix of sadness and an attempt to look appealing at the same time. That used to work on me. Not anymore. Can I at least get my passport? Please? I have a job interview tomorrow. No. All exchanges will go through lawyers. I've already contacted mine. That's when she changed her approach. Tears started flowing. Her shoulders trembled. The full display. Please, I made a mistake. Mike isn't. Things aren't what I expected. I just need my documents. Not my problem. You can't legally keep my identification. Her voice climbed to that familiar shrill pitch. Actually, I can. I'll hold on to them until a proper legal exchange is arranged. They're safe and will be returned through the right channels. She tried to force her way inside. I simply shifted, blocking the door with my arm. Jessica, this was your choice. You left. This isn't your home anymore. It's my house, too. My name is on the mortgage. You might want to check that again. The mortgage is solely in my name. I paid the down payment with my pre-marriage savings. And since you left without notice, you made your claim much more difficult. Thank you, Richard, for that legal script. She didn't fully grasp my words, but she felt them. I saw the exact moment she realized I wasn't the pushover she assumed. Where am I supposed to go? Mike's place is complicated. Already having issues? That didn't take long. She shot me a glare. His wife found out. She showed up at his apartment, screaming. She had emails, videos, everything. Did you have something to do with that? I just shrugged. Sound like karma. I have nowhere to go, Alex. Let me stay here while I figure things out. Just for a few days. I'll sleep on the couch. No, you're being heartless. Now, full-blown sobbing. Heartless? Heartless would be leaving someone with a note after 4 years of marriage. Heartless would be sleeping with your boss in our bed while I was working to provide for us. Heartless would be planning to drain our accounts once his bonus came through. Her eyes widened. How did you? I know everything, Jessica. Every email, every plan, every complaint about my lack of, why you fell for his leased car and maxed out credit cards. She collapsed onto the porch steps, crying, for real this time, not over me, over her carefully planned escape falling apart. I almost felt bad. Almost. I'll have Richard reach out to your lawyer about the document exchange. You should leave now. I shut the door and watched through the security camera as she sat there, crying for nearly 20 minutes before finally calling her sister for a ride. Later that night, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. This isn't over. You had no right to ruin everything. I forwarded it to Richard with a simple note. More evidence to file. The next couple weeks were all about work and getting my life in order. A big rewiring job at a downtown restaurant kept me occupied, while Richard worked on our divorce strategy. And yeah, it's been 3 weeks since she showed up sobbing on my porch. The document exchange finally took place, supervised by both our lawyers at Richard's office. Jessica looked rough, dark circles under her eyes, wearing clothes I recognized from 2 seasons ago. Guess the luxury shopping trips had come to an end. She tried to pull me aside before the meeting. We need to talk. Privately. Alex, there's nothing to discuss that can't be said in front of our lawyers. Richard was a powerhouse. He had everything structured, documented, and ready for signatures. Jessica's lawyer seemed frustrated the entire time, probably because she kept cutting him off to make emotional pleas directly to me. I made a terrible mistake, she said at one point, reaching for my hand across the table. We can fix this. I pulled my hand away. We're here for the document exchange, not reconciliation. Her lawyer eventually had to tell her to stop, pointing out that she was only making things worse. That seemed to snap her into reality. As we wrapped up, Richard filled me in on Mike's situation. It had completely blown up. His pregnant wife, Emma, filed for divorce with proof of multiple affairs, not just with Jessica. Both Mike and Jessica were fired for violating company policy on manager-employee relationships. On top of that, Mike was potentially facing legal trouble for using business trips to carry out his affairs. Jessica had been staying with her sister, but after a week of constant crying and drama, she overstayed her welcome. I also heard she tried moving in with Mike, but that lasted all of 3 days before reality kicked in. 2 unemployed people with rising legal bills in his pricey apartment that, as it turns out, he could barely afford even when he had a job. Meanwhile, things have been looking up for me. Business is thriving. I secured 2 major commercial contracts that will keep us busy for the entire year. I bought a new truck, not as a statement, but because I genuinely needed one for work. The divorce is moving along quickly since Jessica left on her own and left a written note about moving on with someone else. With clear evidence of her affair, everything is pretty cut and dry. Richard thinks we'll wrap this up in record time. Jessica still tries to reach out, sending messages from different numbers, saying she misses what we had and that she made the worst mistake of her life. I don't respond. There's nothing left to say. Last I heard, she moved back in with her parents in Ohio, and Mike is crashing on his brother's couch, delivering for DoorDash to cover child support. Their so-called grand romance lasted less than a month in the real world. Some of my friends ask if I regret how I handle things, if I was too cold or calculated. I tell them the same thing. When someone shows you who they truly are, believe them. And when they're planning to screw you over, there's no shame in protecting what you built. My old man once told me something that stuck. In electrical work, you always plan for the worst-case scenario because one mistake could kill you. Turns out, the same applies to marriage. Life isn't perfect now, but it's real and it's mine. Met a girl at a job site the other day. We've been grabbing coffee after work a couple times a week, and I'm already catching feelings. Nothing serious yet, but there's just something about a woman who can thread a pipe and talk circuit breakers that clicks for me. She laughs at my dumb jokes. Lisa used to say she was the only woman on earth who did. And she doesn't check her phone every 5 seconds when we're together. Funny how you don't realize what you've been missing until you finally have it. No regrets. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing content. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.